Welcome to Senior Strategies. I am your host, Amy Decker, Director of Client Services for Senior Helpers. We are so glad that you were able to join us today for lively conversations with guests that can offer you the tools, strategies, and support so that you can successfully stay on your journey as a caregiver. We hope that you enjoy yourself and find just what you needed to get you through today. Hi, welcome to Senior Strategies. I am so excited about our show today because I have a good friend of mine, Emily Jasper, and she and I met working at a local assisted living community. Actually, she's the director in memory care there, and I bring my babies in there. So she gets to watch the beauty of the unique baby experience with her residents. And the special thing about Emily is she is a certified music therapist, and she's also a certified dementia practitioner. She's finishing up some schooling right now as well to be an MSW. So she's got a lot to share with us today, and I'm excited to have you on today. So Emily, tell us a little bit more about who you are and what you do and what your passion is.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much, Amy, for having me. So again, my name's Emily Jasper. I work at a luxury senior living facility down here in South Florida. And I am the memory care director. So just a little tidbit about me, I guess this was actually my first role as a memory care director, although I have had plenty of experience as a music therapist working with older adults, particularly those on hospice and palliative care. And so this really kind of bridges my passion working with older adults and seniors in a great market right down here in sunny South Florida.
It's perfect. Best. You are in the best spot. You're in the best spot.
I know. So yeah, I'm currently getting my Master of Social Work degree. I'm on my last year. I graduate in May.
Yay.
So I'm very excited.
Yay.
Yes, and that focus is in leadership and management as well as in aging services. So again, super applicable to everything that I'm doing right now.
Oh, and it just makes you that much more valuable because you're able to take all of these certifications and all of this knowledge and to be able to use it to enhance the betterment of our dear seniors that have memory impairment. And,
yes.
I think the biggest part of our show and the viewers are they're caregivers for loved ones that have memory impairment, some form of dementia. And there's so many different challenges to that. And I think the things that you're learning and you're able to do hands-on and actually see what works and doesn't work right within your own community, which is a benefit to all of us. I think it's great. And what would you say is some of your biggest challenges working with those with memory impairment?
Some of the biggest challenges I think is redirecting and behaviors, right, that come along with a dementia diagnosis. That, and not only focusing on the care for the residents, but also focusing on the care for the families.
Yes.
I think that's something that's really, I think we have a big opportunity on a national level to really provide more support for family members and loved ones and their experience with this disease as well.
Right. Because it's very frustrating. Being a caregiver can be very lonely. You're either at home by yourself with your loved one that you're caring for, or you live out of state. And so now you're a phone call away and you worry about what's going on and what's happening. And, should I leave them at home by themselves? Should I find an assisted living or a memory care community to put them in? There's so many factors to that. And if they're not local, they don't even know what to look for to say, this is a good one or this isn't a good one. So I think you've got so much knowledge as far as what to look for. Like what would be some of the biggest things that they should look for if they're going to find a memory care for their loved one?
Right. And Amy, you said, some family members are out of state. I would even go a step further. Some family members are out of the country, right?
Right.
Because these are people with full-blown careers and their own families that are also trying to care for a parent or for another loved one, family friend, right? And I have plenty of family members that travel across the world.
Yeah.
So, that burden as well, because, God forbid something goes wrong.
And it's scary because you're completely out of touch. You're completely out of touch with that person. You can say, oh, I'm very happy that they're within a community. And so they're getting the care that they need, but you're still out of touch. If you're over in Germany or wherever, Europe somewhere, it's
Right.
difficult to know. So to have somebody like you that has all of this background to know how to handle redirecting is a tough one. If they're
Mhm.
sundowning, if they're frustrated, if their sugar levels are off, if they're whatever it
Mhm.
is, it's trying to find that perfect puzzle piece, because not only are you redirecting that person, but you also realize the mood of that person can also offset the rest of the room. So if they're in an activity and decide they're not liking it, you have to
Right.
immediately okay, got to fix this quick, because you're going to have 10 others going right down that same rabbit hole.
Right. You definitely have to be very creative. And I do
Mm-hmm.
want to kind of circle back to, how do loved ones and family members feel supported and feel like they are still a part of their loved one's life if they are in a community, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
So, one of the suggestions that I have, I mean, we're very lucky. We use technology, it's called Life Loop. So, it's actually an app that family members download and it connects to the resident, right, or to their loved one. And we take attendance for every activity that they participate in. We take
Oh,
pictures. And so they can go in and go into the app every day and see, like, and kind of follow along the day with us, like, as far as like what activities they're participating in,
oh, how
because it's in
nice.
real time. Yeah. And then every Saturday, I believe, we send out an announcement. So it's like a full, like, weekly summary of like, hey, here's what your loved one participated in. Here's all their pictures. Um,
Oh,
yeah, and I've gotten a lot of really great
I
feedback
bet. Like a daily
because
report card, a weekly
it,
report card.
it is, and it sounds so silly and like maybe even a little bit juvenile because it feels like it's almost a child, right? You have that role reversal, but it
Mm-hmm.
is such a fantastic resource.
It
Um,
is, because I can't tell you how often, just even with senior helpers taking care of the kids that live out of state, they'll say, can you have the caregiver write a report of what time did she get up? What did she eat? What did she do for the activity that day? What was her blood pressure after lunch? What was her blood pressure? It's just reports. Everybody loves that. Everybody wants to know blow by
right.
blow what's going on. I think that's great.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I think and I think that goes along with the communication piece as well, right?
Yes.
So if people are looking for a community for their loved one, like, honestly, I feel like more times than not, it's not the community or the building or like the
Right.
physical
The
infrastructure
vessel.
itself, the
Right.
vessel. Yeah, it's not the vessel that
Right.
sells people on
Right.
a community. It's a vibe. It's the feeling. It's the people.
You're absolutely
Um,
right. You're
and
absolutely right. And some of these new communities that have opened up, you go in and go, oh, this building is beautiful. And look at the chandelier. And they've got what are the green wall or the growth wall or the plant wall or what? And this
Mhm.
one has but you know what? If the vibe's not there, it's not there. So like you say, that's exactly right. It's not the vessel. It's who's in
Right.
it making it come together.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and I think, and I think about this a lot. My grandparents are here, down in South Florida. The rest of my family lives, states away.
Uh-huh.
And so I often find myself in sort of a caregiver role. And so I think about, if that were my mother or if that were my grandmother, walking into a community, what are the
Right.
things that I would look for? And I think, unfortunately, a lot of family members, they haven't had this experience. They haven't had to
Right.
to try this before, so they don't
Exactly.
know what to look for.
Right.
But I've found, that it's really the people and the vibe that really, make a facility, make a
It
community.
absolutely is. And you'll see that when they come into buildings. Often I'm in memory care of other buildings, but you'll see family members coming in and they're not really they're just looking around. They're looking at the caregivers. They're looking at the activities going on. They're watching to see the mood of those that are in there right now. Are they
Mhm.
happy? Are they all asleep? Well, what's going on? So you're right.
Right.
They want to come in. They want to have that feeling that they're going to be engulfed in love and activities. And in one of the support groups that I have too, I had a gentleman that he said, I paid so much money. I had 24-hour care for my wife who had Parkinson's to
Mhm.
keep her at home for 3 years. I needed her to be at home. I figured that would be the happiest thing. She needs to be in a surrounding. And then I realized she wasn't doing anything. So yeah, I had a caregiver there and he said the minute I found the perfect memory care for her, she
Mhm.
blossomed. She
Yep.
got in there. She thought she was running a business again. They gave her envelopes and pens and stickers, and she was back to work and smiling and singing. And she had a purpose again. She got up in the morning,
Right.
that every morning she had a purpose. At home, she'd get
Yeah.
up and there wasn't much going on, but he really thought that that was better for her. He said she completely turned into a different person when she got up in the morning and had a purpose because she thought she was going back to work.
And I see that so often, Amy. I think that's a big fear.
Yeah.
I think there's this huge stigma about placing a loved one into a memory care
Mm-hmm.
unit or into a memory care neighborhood,
Yeah,
right? Um, because it sounds scary. It
it
sounds
does.
demeaning, right? It sounds, like I can't tell you how often family members say, like, I'm not ready for this.
Absolutely.
And I think
Absolutely.
that's a big hurdle that,
Yes.
we have to work through. And
Because you're
but like
right.
you
They
said,
almost look at it like it's a step down. We had a gentleman that put his mother into, she was in her own home and we were caring for her in the home. And he decided to put her in a memory care. And he said, I'm not going to sell her house because if she gets there and she hates it, I want her to know she can go back home if she wants to. And I'm just going
Mhm.
to hold on to the house for a while. And he was just really concerned. And we went to see her today. She's in heaven. She
Right,
loves it. And that's what she said. I love being here. I
right,
didn't want to be home by myself all day because
right.
her son lived out of state. She said, I have things to do. I've made friends. She said, everybody remembers my name. I don't even remember my name half the time. And everybody here knows my name. So it's cute when you hear they want to be with people. We're
I
pack
know.
animals. We're born as a pack animal. We want to be
Yep.
around other people. Yes, our home. Yes, it can bring you comfort, but
Right.
that's not always good for your psyche.
Right. And I can't tell you how many times families are like, if we have a resident that's about to move in, they're like, she's probably going to want to eat in her apartment,
Right.
like, can you deliver meals? Or she's not very social, she likes to stay in her room and watch TV.
Mm-hmm.
And I will tell you, when they come into my memory care, that completely goes out the window because
Right.
it's almost like this camp vibe.
Right.
Like they come in, they see everybody alive and having fun, and
Right.
they naturally want to be a part of it.
Yes.
And they stick together. They go from one program, one activity to the next and kind of follow each other through. And then before you know it, it's lunchtime, and before you know it, it's dinner time. And
Right.
then
But I have
you
to
know,
say, you are such a big reason why they want to be part of those activities. So you do gardening things. You did an Olympics this year. You did a
yes.
derby. They had derby hats. You did like picture shows and photography. Um, they
We do
just, you make them
everything.
so part of it. When you left to go get married, I think they had a little bridal shower and people had bouquets. It's
They did.
you make it
Yeah.
that way. So it's fun. I like going in there and watching all the things or following you even on Facebook to see the activities. So
Right.
it's not the normal, here's your coloring book, here's a puzzle. Let's
No,
paint
I
a
mean, come on.
no, you've got
That's
stuff
not
going all the
interactive. That's
time.
not programming. I mean, yeah, I hate having people sit in front of a TV.
Yes.
To me, that's one of my pet peeves. And I was actually recently promoted to a national mentor for Bridge Senior Living. And
I
so,
love that.
yeah, so a part of my job is now training and collaborating with other memory care directors across the country.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
and developing these new programs. But like one of the things that I always say when I walk into another community is like, we should not be having residents sit in front of a TV.
Yes.
If you're going to have, an activity involving the TV, like at least make it interactive, have a
Right.
conversation,
Right.
like we can watch Frank Sinatra in concert, but like, ask
Interact.
questions,
Exactly.
interact. Yeah.
And you pick up things that I don't even. So I remember the one time I was there with the babies and they were all holding the babies. And I thought, oh, let's start singing baby songs. So we turned the channel to like, oh, I don't know what it was, like lullabies or something, but it
Lullabies.
was
Yep.
too babyish. And you were like,
Mm-hmm.
this is too, because it was like, they were doing the alphabet and ba
Right.
ba black sheep. And you were like, you know what? I get it. The babies are here, but everything still needs to be adult.
It
These are
does.
adults. You've got to keep
It
it.
does.
And I've learned that. I'm a certified dement, and I'm like, you know what? I didn't even think about that. You can
Right.
put lullaby music on her, but don't make it so it's like a kiddie show. This is for
Right.
adults.
It
So
should not be like nothing that we should ever do as far as programming or, trying to keep somebody busy is just never be juvenile. I mean, these
Right.
people are full-fledged adults. They have lived
Yes.
incredible lives.
Yes.
And so could you imagine, it being the way that I think about it, right? Is if I am in this position someday, would I want, these little baby animated things kind
I
of popping up on
know.
a screen
Right.
or like what's the difference between like having the group sing "You Are My Sunshine"? I mean, there's
Exactly.
such a difference there, and the dignity is preserved in the
Yes.
person, and I think that is huge. So that's something that I'm really adamant about.
And you are unique with that because most aren't. So you immediately click into what your roles and all the things that you've learned for the betterment of those residents that are with you, which then in turn is a positive experience for their loved ones that were kind of afraid to have to put them into a memory care. So they get a
Yeah.
report card every day. They get to see all the things that they do. They get to come on Facebook and watch the fun things that they're doing. I always get such a tickle out of it. You've
I
got great
know.
photos, you've got great activities. So it doesn't need to be scary if you can see that your loved one needs to go into a memory care or even an
Right.
assisted living or even
Right.
an independent living.
It
Right.
doesn't have to be scary, but I think you need to know how to ask the right questions and what you should be looking for.
Right.
Um, because, like I think a difference in my community is like we also integrate our memory care residents with independent living residents,
Yes.
with the assisted living residents, and we use the whole community, right? And so you're not stuck, you're not locked down.
Right.
You still
Right.
get out. I mean, I take my residents on outings. I mean, we've gone to like the Jupiter Lighthouse.
I love
I
that.
mean, we go out to brunch, like we
Right.
go to like we do so many fun things. We were just at the Norton Art Museum and
Aw.
The Flagler Museum. You know what I mean? So like these are still people,
Right.
just because they won't remember, 5 minutes later or
It's
when they get back,
right.
they still remember the feeling, right?
Exactly. That they have that endorphin that went up because they went and had fun, and maybe they don't remember why they're feeling so good about themselves because they just got back, but it does something to their psyche. That
Right.
endorphin is raised, it makes them feel good. They say when your endorphins are raised and you're feeling good and you're happy, it actually raises your immune system.
Yep.
So doing that to them, it's helping them physically, mentally, in every way to get them just to feel good about themselves. And you're right. I know one of the things in another one of my support groups is they get sad because they'll say, I went in and I went to see my mom and she didn't remember who I was. She didn't remember who I was. She didn't even remember my name, but she smiled at me. And it's because they may not remember your name. They may not remember who you are, but they will remember how you made them feel. So when you go in and they're hugging you and you know who I am, it's okay. Don't ask because you made them feel good. You've given them a purpose to smile and they may not even remember how, but their heart's beating warm because of you. And I just think it's lovely.
And I think that's a huge challenge for families too.
Mm-hmm.
Like having somebody not remember who they are, like that's your mom or that's your dad or that's your
Right.
spouse, right?
Right.
But the way that I kind of talk through that with my loved ones is like, they might not remember who you are. They might think that you're their sister or
Right.
or their mother.
Mm-hmm.
But the joy that conversation might bring them,
Yeah.
I mean, like that's beautiful.
Yeah.
And you
I
guys, you
agree.
kind of just get to play the part.
Right.
And, I
Right.
mean, sometimes that beauty is really all we get.
You're right. And in fact, there was a gentleman in another building that I was in. And because my name is Amy Decker and I always had my name tag on, he thought I was Lil Decker, which was his friend up in New York, somewhere in the Bronx. So every time he would see me, he'd go, Lil Decker, Lil, do you remember? You warmed my heart. And I played the part of Lil Decker every time. And I would see people look at me like, do you really know him? No, I don't.
Absolutely
I have no idea
not.
who Lil Decker is, but I'm going to talk about, I would ask him, where did we like to go to eat dinner? Let's talk about some memories. And he would leave and he'd always hold his heart and say, you just warm my heart when you come to visit me, Lil. And I played a role. It's exactly like you said. I get the joy of playing that role with him. And I loved it. I loved
Same
it.
thing. I have a resident who thinks that I'm her former art student. She was an art teacher all of her life. And I know nothing about art. I am lucky I can draw stick people. You know what I'm saying? Like,
but you fill a role for her.
Exactly. And it brings her joy. So
It
who am I to
does.
say, like, I can't even draw stick people? Like, you know what I mean? Who am I
Right,
to say that? It's like, yes,
right.
you were the best art teacher. Thank you so
Oh,
much. You know
and
what
that
I mean?
does,
And the
yes,
smile and the joy that
I
brings to
know.
people, I mean,
Is just unmatched. It's
it is.
unmatched. So, all right. So now that you are a mentor, do they have you travel kind of to all different buildings or how does that work?
Yes, yes. So I am running my community, and then I also lead monthly calls and review all of the calendars and newsletters for the company. And then I also travel to other buildings to kind of help out as needed,
That's
or
great.
to train new directors, or they'll come train with me at my community. So it's really exciting.
Yes, it
It's a
is.
big step. So
It's a big step. And you have a support group. So, how often do you have your support group?
yeah, so I actually lead multiple support groups.
Oh, great.
The one that I lead for our family members of our memory care residents is once a month.
Mhm.
And we actually do it virtually, because I have family members that join from all across the world.
Right.
Yeah, so that just is what works out
Thank
best.
goodness
And
for
then
Zoom. Yeah.
right. And then
Honestly.
quarterly we do an in-person like support group dinner, where, and this is like incredible to me that, our family members are willing to travel from across the world to come together for 2 hours and have dinner all
Aw.
together.
Aw.
So I'm excited. We have ours are coming up towards the end of this month. So we'll be having people coming from Canada and from
Oh,
other
that's
places around the
great.
yeah. So I do that one. And then I also started one for um, residents who live in the assisted living or independent living that are
Mhm.
also caring for somebody with dementia or for their family members as
Right.
well. Because I think that that was something that was being missed.
Right.
Like I said, in the beginning, I think we don't do a very good job as a country or
Yeah.
in this line of work in the senior living world
Right.
of supporting the family members. I think
Yep.
there's so much more that we can do.
Yes.
And so that was kind of my little contribution at my community to try to um, take away the stigma of, maybe perhaps moving into memory care or
Right.
aging in place.
And I think
Um,
it's so lovely. So I do 3 support groups as well. And I think that what I love the most of getting these people together, so I've been doing it for a couple of years now, is watching them come together. And we'll always talk about like, what was your biggest challenge this month? Or what was something that you really needed to
mhm,
overcome? And how did you do it successfully? Or maybe you didn't and you're still struggling. And they'll
right.
start telling stories, and this one will start crying. And then that one helps that one. And then
Mhm,
this one's got a really great idea, and she helps this one. And then when we come back the following month or the following week to a different location, they're going to say, I remembered what you said and I did that and it worked. And
right.
so it's they're healing each other, and they
Right.
all leave and they hug. We got a box of Kleenex for when they cry, but it gives
Yep.
them a place to be heard. It gives them a place to share an experience with somebody else
Right.
and to help someone else. So they
Right.
might go thinking, oh, I'm so depressed and I got to be here because I got to learn what to do. They have no idea what they're saying, and what they're doing is helping 3 other people in that room. And I think the
Yeah.
beauty is watching them help each other really is so
Right.
special.
I think the best groups are the ones where like we as the facilitator don't even have to talk, right?
Yes.
We
Yes.
might get it started, pose a question, and then the family members, they just go.
They just go. I know. I think the
They
only
just
challenge I
blossom.
have is it's usually only like an hour and a half, is at one point trying to figure out how to cut one person off so the next person can start. And that's
Right.
really, otherwise they would go for hours. They really would. And
Yeah.
I think they say this is the highlight of my month. It's to
Right.
get together, and now they've all kind of befriended each other. So those that were depressed and
Exactly.
said, I go home and I feel guilty because my husband's in a memory care and I'm still at home and I feel guilty leaving him. Now she can come here and not feel guilty because everyone in
Right.
the room is dealing with the same problem
Right.
or the
And the
same
way that
issue.
I always right. And the way that I always phrase it too is like, you know, it's people don't understand that they also need to realize their experience with this disease.
Yep.
Right. And I always say at the end of every support group, like, thank you so much for taking an hour,
Mm-hmm.
an hour out of your week to just care for you. right?
Exactly.
Because
And
their
it's
whole life revolves around
consumed.
caring,
They're consumed.
caring.
Yes.
Yes.
And I said, just walking out your front door, taking a shower, brushing your teeth, making your bed, walking out the front door, getting in your car and coming here, your mind is on something different. When you're at
Hmm.
home and you're with the loved one or you're worried about, then you're at home and you're wallowing in it. But to actually
Right.
get in the car and put the radio on and see trees and see
Right.
outside and meet your brain has clicked into something else and it's given you a minute to heal and think about something different. We all
Right.
need that for whatever we get consumed with.
Right.
So,
We
but
do. And I think, sorry, I was just going to say that, I think for family members that maybe are looking towards a memory care community for their
mhm,
loved one, like look into what that community provides and what
right.
support that they might offer,
Hmm.
or what agencies or other organizations that they partner with that can be there for you and provide that
Right.
support. Because I think a lot of times people just don't know what's out there.
So they don't
Um,
even know what to ask.
they don't even know what to ask. But I
Right.
think that's a really important question. Even if you're like, okay, you know what? Yeah, this whole dementia thing, this really sucks and this is really
Right.
hard, but I don't really need support. I
Right.
think there's something to be said about being
Yes.
a part of a community,
Hmm.
for 1 hour a month where you get to come and talk with people.
Right.
Maybe at least in my case, it's a support group where everybody lives in, their loved ones live in that memory care community. So they
Hmm.
kind of get to know each other. And when they come to visit, I think it's so beautiful. This is like one of my favorite things to hear. Like, I came to visit like 2 weeks ago and I met your mom. And she's so
Aw.
sweet. And she was doing this and she was participating in this and
Right.
she told me this. I mean, like, how cool is that as another family member to hear, like, wow,
Yes.
somebody's checking up on my mom, and it's
Yes.
not a staff member, it's not somebody who's being paid to do this, right?
Exactly.
it's
Exactly.
just it's just somebody else, another set of eyes to say, like, wow, this person is being cared for.
Yeah.
Like, what a relief that is.
I know.
That's one of my favorite things to hear.
It is. And like you said, that is something that they won't understand it until they go in there and see it and
and
hear it and feel it.
and
So
do
it's
it.
good to
Yep.
go into, if you're looking to go into a memory care, make several visits, go different times of the day.
Yep.
Pop in and see what's going on. If they
Right.
know someone's going in for a tour, everyone's going to be, it's like a or interview. You're going to be on your
Right.
best behavior and but when you walk into your memory care, there's always smiles. There's always the caregivers are up dancing. They got music going. They
They
got the
do.
pool noodles going around and they're good. If somebody's having a hard time and having a meltdown for whatever reason, they're just so cute about escorting them out and taking them outside and doing something different with them. They interact with them. They
Right.
interact. And that is the most important thing. It really is.
It is. I mean, just treating people like people,
Yes.
treating them
Yes.
like your mother, your father, your grandparents.
That's
I
it.
mean, it's the
That's
way that
it.
I would want to be treated, and that's how I run my community.
I think it's great. And I think, you are young. So you are
Yeah.
a leader. You're young. You're 26. So you're young
Yes.
and learning what you're learning right now. As you continue to get older, you are doing nothing but for the betterment of everybody that's around you. So you're getting all sorts of knowledge and information and hands-on. Hands-on
Right.
is the most important because you see immediately what works and what doesn't work. It's
Right.
obvious.
And I think that's one of the benefits of, this new position. And I'm thankful that I'm a part of a company that allows us to kind of grow within the organization.
Right.
But being able to have these ideas, or being able to see the problem in real life and being able to, like, adopt a solution or try different things, you can find out what works and what doesn't really quickly,
Oh yeah.
and then be able to help others. So I
Right.
think that that's a big benefit of
It's a
this type of
huge
role.
benefit. And I think when people are dealing with, I think we mentioned before too, if they're dealing with sundowning, if they're dealing with, I think one of the biggest issues we have is, my wife or my mom or my dad, they don't want to shower anymore. They don't want to get in the shower.
Huge.
Huge. It's huge. And
Huge.
if the minute you make a big deal out of the shower, now you've made a big deal out of the shower. Now they don't even
Hmm.
want to walk in the bathroom
Right.
because now you've made such a big deal out of, or whatever it is, eating, drinking, showering, sundowning. They can just go. We've had clients call 911 on the caregiver that's been there all day long already and
Yep.
with them for 4 years saying there is a
Yep.
stranger in my house.
Right.
Come and get them out of here. So
Yep.
and everyone's got their own recipe and everyone's got their own little issues and strengths. And so it's
They
tough
do.
when you got
And there's
one, let
not,
alone you have how many that you're dealing with. Yeah.
right. Well, and there's not one solution for everybody. And I
Right.
think that's what people really struggle with. Um, even professionals that are in this role. I hear all the time, when family members are looking at our community, it's like they were at another community and they just didn't know how to handle her.
Right. Right.
And I hate that. I
I
hate
know.
that like phrase and that wording, because that's a person.
I know.
You know what I mean? Like
You're not handling
that,
a horse or a dog. It's a person and you should be
right?
able to know how to, but there's a difference between somebody that's in the field because of the love and compassion and somebody that's in the field for a paycheck.
Right.
Some just want
And
the
honestly,
paycheck and some don't care about the paycheck is good, but it's because they have love and compassion for that role.
right.
Big
And
difference.
I don't know how anybody could stay in this role just for a paycheck.
Right.
I mean, it's difficult.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of difficult days, even as
Yes.
a professional working in
Yes.
this field. So, yeah. And I think that just underscores, like, if you're bringing your loved one, or if you're looking and that maybe a memory care community is coming, you have to get to know the people and really do your research on
Yes.
who is running that organization, who is running that specific neighborhood in the community, right?
Right.
Because it matters.
It matters. It sure does matter. And I think everything that you do shows that you matter and you matter to them and they matter to you. And really that's what it's all about, is just making everybody, like we say, they get up in the morning with a purpose and they've got something
Right.
to look forward to, or
Right.
whatever it is, you make those things happen. I think it's
Right.
great. And I encourage anybody, if they've got any questions for you, if maybe there's just somebody that really wants to pick your brain on some certain things that they're concerned about, or they would like to join your support group if they're local,
Yeah.
or they can make comments on the Facebook page or Instagram page, also the YouTube channel too. They can stick comments on there. Unless you have a way for them to get in touch with you, I can just have them send messages through our social media and then I can send them your way.
Yeah, that would be great if you'd like to do that.
That would
probably
be great.
be the best way.
Good. But I think you're wonderful. I think what you're doing is great. I'm excited that you're going to be graduating soon. And,
Thank you.
at 26, your life has just begun. So I am excited to give it some time and have you on again and find out the new things that you learned and what you can share with us and where you are in your life.
Thank you so much, Amy. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for being on the show. You were great. Thank you for watching our show. We hope that you found an answer to a question or a resource that can assist you. Our goal is to keep all of you that are caregivers informed, refreshed, and heard. We're here for you. Please don't hesitate to reach out to us with any questions. We have all the resources that you'll need. Please follow us on our Facebook and Instagram pages for the up-and-coming shows and events and support groups. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for your support.